All right, so we're starting out with this number 6.4 times 6.54. Thank you, Sydney. Times 10 to the 8th, and we are going to attempt to try to explain a way to put this number in scientific notation in a fun and memorable way. So let's think of the decimal point as a little cub, and you want to make sure the cub gets to its mother because the cub is lost. Now, think about how when you move the decimal point, it tells you to move the decimal point the number of times to the 10th. So if it's 4 to the 10th, you move the decimal point
10 to the 4th.
10 to the 4th. Thank you, Cindy, again. You move the decimal point 4 paces to the right because it's positive 4. We'll get into negatives later. And if it's 7, then you move it 7 paces to the right. Now, in this case, we have 8. The cub is lost. Let's remember that. So you want to make sure the cub takes 8 steps to the right in order to get to its mother. Now, we are going to try that. It gets a little more tricky after that with zeros and numbers, but we're just going to make sure you get that first. This has been Yoni Offit with Scientific Notation. All right, hello everybody. This is Yoni Offit again with Scientific Notation. Today we are going to discuss the negative aspect of doing scientific notation. Now, to make it simple on all you scientific notation fans learning out there, we're going to do the same number we had before. We're going to have 6.54, but this time it's not going to be 10 to the 8th. It's actually going to be 10 to the negative 5th. I know negative and positive, 8 and 5, so you got to bear with me here. So, once again, you have the decimal point at 6.54, so between the 6 and the 5. Now, before, we know what we did when we had positive 8. We moved the decimal point 8 paces to the right, making the number bigger. Now, in this case, for the negatives, we are going to move the number left. So the cub, this time, has to go left towards its mother to find her. So we have 6.54 times 10 to the negative 5th, and we're going to take the cub and move it 5 paces to the left. Left, the number gets smaller. Right, the number gets bigger. And the cub will get to its mother. Again, you have to be careful of this if the number is negative or positive over the 10. This has been Yoni Offit with another edition of Scientific Notation. All right, so we already know about the scientific notation rules about moving the decimal point. All right, keeping the cub with its mother. Make sure the cub gets to its mother either 5 paces to the right or 5 paces to the left, depending on 10 to the 5th or 10 to the negative 5th. Now, once again, for this segment, we're going to keep the same number, 6.54. Now, what you need to remember when you move the decimal point, this goes for positive numbers and this goes for negative numbers. Let's start out with the positive number, 6.54. Now, some people would ask, we got these questions into our show, some people would ask, once you move the decimal point past the 4 and keep moving the decimal point, what do? There are no more numbers left to pass. Now, this one goes out to Fred in Des Moines, Iowa. Thank you for asking this question. The answer is you add zeros. Now, you're going to move the decimal place to the right, 6.54, and then some. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the cub right out of our back pocket, and let's say the cub moves past the 5, past the 4, and then 1, 2, 3 more decimal places. Now, we are going to put zeros in those spots, and those zeros are going to act as, let's say, cub droppings, okay? The cub is leaving its droppings behind. Those are the zeros. After it ate up the other numbers, it ate up the 5, it ate up the 4, and leaving the zeros are its droppings. That's for positive, and the same goes for negative. If you're going to the left, it eats up the 6, and all those zeros it comes after, they are the droppings for the cub. Just a fancy, naughty way to remember it. This has been Yoni Offit with Scientific Notation, the 3rd episode. This show has been sponsored by Jonathan Goldstein. Thank you, and good night.